Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Renee Mehrra, and I'm here with Jeff Behler, who is the regional director for Census for the New York region, and it actually covers 8 states. So it is New York, New Jersey, Maine, Rhode Island, Puerto Rico, Vermont, and Massachusetts. So there are quite a few areas that Jeff is covering, and it's so very important for all of us to be involved in Census 2020. It comes once a decade. And why is it so important? Why is it so important that our voices need to be heard, and funding, all this as it intersects with the pandemic of coronavirus? So Jeff, good day to you, and let us know exactly the 8 states that you're covering again, so our viewers are familiar with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon, and thanks so much for having me today. So the New York region, it's one of 6 regions we have across the country. We cover from New Jersey, New York, all the way up through Maine, also all the New England states, and then Puerto Rico.
Okay, and this comes once a decade. So give us a background on census and what it really entails. When we say with Census 2020, people really don't think it's that important, but why is it so significant in our lives?
Yeah, absolutely. And so you're absolutely right. The census comes once a decade. Article 1, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution mandates that the U.S. government conduct a count of the population for the purpose of representation, for the purposes of helping to determine how funding is disseminated over the next 10 years. And this really is, we're not taking an estimate or a sample. This is the one opportunity when we're visiting every household across the nation. We like to say that the census is safe, the census is easy, and the census is important. And when we talk about safe, it's important that people understand that every piece of data they provide to us is protected under federal law. Local, state, federal law enforcement can never access our data at any time for any reason, meaning Homeland Security and ICE can never access our data at any time for any reason. Even the Patriot Act does not supersede Title 13. So we want people to understand that when we release our data, it's at a statistical summary at a city level or a census tract level or a county level. It's never at a person or household level. So please feel confident in knowing that the census, the data we collect, the data you provide is safe.
And let's navigate the application form, which I know is very easy. They're very simple questions. The questionnaire just asks for your name, your address, how long you've been there for, and how many people stay with you. So it's pretty simple, but let's go over that.
Yeah, it is. It's a very basic, and that really points to the easy part of the conversation when we say the census is easy. So there's 3 ways to self-respond in 2020. For the first time ever, every household across the nation, if they choose, can go online and fill out their census form on their computer, on their smartphone, on their tablets. In addition, if a household chooses, every household across the nation can call one of our toll-free telephone numbers and provide their information to a Census Bureau employee over the phone. And both online and over the phone are available in English and 12 non-English languages. And then if households aren't comfortable going online or calling it in over the phone, they can fill it out on paper. Every household will receive a paper response if that's the way they want to fill out the census. So we say online, over the phone, on paper are the best way to self-respond. And what you said earlier was exactly right. It's a short form only census, very basic data. We ask for your name, your age and your date of birth, your race and ethnicity, whether or not you're of Hispanic origin. We ask for your sex. We ask whether or not you own or rent your home. And then we ask for your relationship to whoever you list first on your form, mother, father, son, daughter. That's all we ask. It's important to note we never ask for social security numbers. We never ask for bank account or credit card information. We never ask for money, and we never ask for anything on behalf of a political party.
And what is the hotline number that you wanted to give
So
out?
if you go online to 2020census.gov, that's the best way to see.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now,
2020census.gov will have a list of all the numbers. There's a specific number for each language so that you can choose the language you want, call that number, and then someone who speaks that language will immediately pick up the phone and converse with you in that language. So it's a wonderful opportunity, whether you just have some questions you want answered, or whether you want to provide information over the phone, you can call one of those 13 telephone numbers.
Now, in the light of pandemic that the whole country, the whole world is going through at this time, how does the Census 2020 intersect? Because we need more funding, we need more congressional representation, we need more beds, hospital beds. So all this is intersecting at this point. So it underscores the need for us to get counted. Give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a fantastic point, because it really is. The census, when we talk about it's important, it boils down to two things: representation and funding. And it's representation at every level of government, from the number of seats each state has in the U.S. House of Representatives. That's determined by the census data, as well as the Electoral College. States are going to use this data for their redistricting purposes, for drawing their voting precincts, their school districts. Businesses are going to use this data for their planning. If they're going to expand, they want to go somewhere where there's an employee base where they can hire people, or where they have a good customer base. And when we talk about the funding, it's probably the reason that most resonates with our communities throughout New York City, throughout the state, throughout our region. Hundreds of billions of dollars of federal funding are disseminated every year based upon formulas that use census data. So these are things like Medicaid and Medicare, education, whether it's Title I grants or transportation, National School Lunch Program, community block development grants, parks, recreation. And when you talk about where we're at today with this COVID-19 epidemic or pandemic that we're in, I can't think of a better way that people can help support their local healthcare workers, their local healthcare facilities, than filling out their census, because the census will be used to determine the funding that goes to build hospitals, to ensure there's enough beds in those hospitals, to ensure that there's enough clinics, if there's vaccines, there's enough employees, doctors and nurses in an area. Communities need accurate census data in order to make those decisions. And that's an easy way we can all help support our healthcare professionals today.
These are very critical, essential services that you just talked about, whether it's healthcare, whether it's safety, whether it's education, Medicare, Medicaid, and we all get impacted by these services. We have to access these services, and if we have a shortage, it could be that we were not counted before. So that's why it underscores the need to be counted and get this funding. If I'm not mistaken, the last census, 2010, I think we lost one congressional seat because we nearly did not put out our whole, everybody did not get counted at that time.
Yeah, when you look at it, there's a finite number of congressional districts that we have in this nation, 435 across our nation. Regardless, that won't increase or decrease. So we're in competition with every other state to ensure we have fair representation. So if we have an undercount, it's possible we could lose 1 seat, 2 seats, or even more when we don't get everyone counted. If all the other states are getting a complete inaccurate count and we're not, that means that we're going to lose congressional representation. Other states are going to get those representation from us. And then slowly we start losing our diversity. We start losing representatives that really represent the vast diversity we have throughout this area.
I know April 1st was Census Day. And, having not gone through this pandemic of COVID-19, everybody would be out and getting, knocking the doors and getting, their voices heard and their kids, everything counted, families counted. Why is it so very important for underserved communities and minority communities to be heard at this point of time?
Yeah, when we look at the typically undercounted groups in a census, it's minority groups, communities who speak a language other than English, a lot of renters, children under the age of 5. Those are all undercounted groups. And you brought up some great programs that we've discussed, like Medicaid and Medicare, National School Lunch Program, or fixing our roads and infrastructure, or healthcare, education. These are all critical programs that communities rely upon. And if these undercounted groups don't feel confident or don't think this is important to them, or maybe they're just unaware about what a census truly does. Maybe this is their first census. We really need to work with those local trusted voices, local leaders, local media such as yourself to really let them know the truth about the census. Let them know how safe it is, how easy it is to fill it out. And again, every year for the next 10 years is going to be impacted by the 2020 census. So as an example, imagine a school in an undercounted neighborhood or in a minority neighborhood. And let's say there's 100 kids at that school. If only 80 kids get counted in the 2020 census, that school is going to get 80% of the funding it deserves for the next 10 years. And it doesn't just affect those 20 kids who weren't counted, it affects all 100. Now, just apply that to whatever's important to your community. Maybe it's care for the elderly, could be healthcare. Do we have enough parks and recreation? If we don't get a complete and accurate count, communities, families, cities will suffer for the next 10 years.
Right. That is, it is a very essential area that we need to get this going. And as far as I know, that so far the percentage of people who have applied and put their voices in is not that much at this point. I think over 30%, maybe a little bit over 30%.
Yeah, nationally we're at 38.4%. New York we're at 33.1%, and this was as of yesterday. Given I'm cautiously optimistic given the environment we're currently in, being in the epicenter of the COVID-19. I mean, I think it's amazing. Our partners are truly amazing. These partners who had events planned, coming to their local library to learn about the census and then to fill out the questionnaire right there at a location they feel comfortable in, with trusted voices telling them how to fill it out and letting them know that it is safe. These partners are amazing. They're, instead of hitting the pause button like a lot of people may want to do, they're re-engineering what they're doing. So now they're having social media events. We know in Brooklyn there was an organization who had a dance party last night, invited people to join via social media, via Facebook, and people would talk about how they filled out the census or show pictures of them filling out the census. That our partners are amazing. So we're here to support our partners, whether that's media, whether that's local elected officials, church leaders, business owners, community-based organizations, to give them the information, the support they need to share the message with their community, how important the census is for them, their families, their neighbors, their neighborhood for the next 10 years.
I think social media is now becoming more creative and innovative, especially with COVID-19, how to go about get your voice heard. So it is very important. I want to tell our viewers, it is so very important to get your voice heard, especially for your quality of life issues, whether you're talking about healthcare, education, safety, tolls, bridges, school lunches, Medicare, Medicaid, everything that you can think of that brings in quality of life. We're going to get impacted. And right now we're below the national average, so we need to get this going. What is the deadline, Jeff, on this, for filling out the application?
Yeah, so right now it's mid-April, and of course that may be extended based upon the current situation we're all in across this country. But Census Day is April 1st, so whether you fill it out March 12th or whether you fill it out June 1st, we're asking you who lived at that address as of April 1st, 2020. So the best thing to do is to go online and fill it out as soon as you can. Call our toll-free number to give your information over the phone. Or beginning April 8th, we're going to be mailing out paper questionnaires to every household that has yet to respond to the census online or over the phone. So if you're more comfortable filling it out on paper, you don't need to call to request a paper questionnaire. We're automatically going to mail it out to you beginning April 8th.
Thank you very much, Jeff Behler, Regional Director for Census. Fill it on paper, fill it online, get on the phone if you need some interpreter for anything. It's a very basic questionnaire. And it, again, as Jeff mentioned, we're restating that nobody's going to ask about your status or anything like that. It's just about, your voice to be counted so that we can get proper funding for our city, for our state, and make our life much better. So thank you very much, Jeff Behler, Regional Director for Census, and I'm Dr. Renee Mehrra. Thank you so much for watching the Renee Report. Thank you.